There's a little bit of video out, an interview with Aleksandar Vucic, who's the Serbian president. And he's very interesting because, on the one hand, a few days ago, he was the person who announced that Djokovic had possibly defied the Serbian lockdown system when he had registered positive on a PCR test. And then he'd gone off and he'd done an interview because he didn't want to disappoint his fans. But now the Serbian president has come out with a very interesting statement. He says something I agree, of course. I agree that the Australian government should have made its decision before Djokovic got over there, and that once over there and once having taken a decision legally, they should have stuck to it. On appeal, this decision was Djokovic was found to have entered the country correctly, and the government overturned this decision because they were concerned that he was setting a bad example to the anti-vaccination lobby. This should have been anticipated even before he went over there. Now, what the president of Serbia goes on to say, and this I find slightly interesting, is that Djokovic has been harassed and tortured both physically and mentally. Well, I know a little bit about torture. I was on the board of a charity that looked into supporting people who have been tortured. My partner is a torture victim, and I did a good deal of research about 20 years ago into the whole nature of torture and the way that efforts are made often before the actual torture occurs, to soften people up, to make them compliant. And from that point of view, yes, I would say that Djokovic has actually been subjected to a certain amount of R21 techniques, as indeed is anybody who is subject to the rigors of reality TV. These are techniques which remove your sense of security. They remove your sense of time. They subject you to pressures that you are unused to. In Djokovic's case, this would be keeping him in detention in a rather scurrilous hotel for 4 days initially, and then for 2 days, I think, while his case was under review. And so yes, I would think elements of unattractive processing, I don't think they quite amount to torture. There are people who have been tortured, who have gone through appalling things, and they certainly wouldn't recognise what Djokovic has gone through as being torture. So I think the Serbian president is being a little hyperbolic in his statements, but I don't think that the Australian government has acted properly. Now, I'm saying this as somebody who's quite keen on the vaccination programme and who is quite keen for people to get vaccinated. I have friends who are not vaccinated, and I am cautious about their reasons and what they're doing and about seeing them. And in the case of most of my friends, they're making huge efforts to protect themselves independently of the vaccine. They're taking cocktails of various vitamins and things, and indeed some of them have fallen foul of COVID and have come through the other side really very well because their immune systems are so buttressed. And indeed, I've taken advice from them about what I should be taking to improve my immune system, which has taken a bit of a knock over the last few months. And I'm following their advice. But my natural position would be to support the vaccinators rather than the anti-vax lobby. However, I'm also appalled. I'm always appalled where authority trumps the law. I'm not so appalled when somebody finds an excuse or when somebody gets let off, but I am always appalled when a country uses authority over the systems that it's put in place. I think this is one of the reasons why I naturally am inclined to disapprove of Priti Patel, because she seems the sort of person who likes to stamp her foot and use her authority. I may be wrong. I may be misjudging her. But I think we need to put our faith in the law as it stands. We shouldn't be making things up as we go along. Anyway, I find this statement by the Serbian president, it raises an eyebrow, shall we say. It raises an eyebrow. But I'm so pleased that Djokovic has got some friends, because he will need them.